I think it is nice to just watch the 29, right? See how they would do it and see what went wrong. Just letting you know, I haven't watched any of these I haven't watched any of these runs. So I don't know like everything perfectly. Because I can already tell Twitch that it's gonna be like, come on, Nagura, you're a caster. How could you possibly not know this? And it's like, because I haven't watched any of this before, okay? So calm down, okay? Before we start this. Anyway. Okay, so first of all, let's think about the comp. So they're running Holy Paladin for obvious reasons. They're running Moonkin for obvious reasons. They're running Mage for obvious reasons. The only thing that is not obvious is the Shadow Priest and the Guardian Druid. The Shadow Priest is being run for mind control, right? So they need a priest for mind control. That explains the Shadow Priest. The Guardian Druid, I don't 100% understand though. It's just probably because they're so tanky, so they can do those big pulls, I would assume. For the weapons, yeah, that makes sense. Because in other dungeons you cannot necessarily do super big pulls, and therefore Guardian loses value, right? Guardian is really good for survivability when you're planning on doing really big pulls. But if you cannot do big pulls, then the Guardian is not as good because you don't have the damage that you gain from Demon Hunter Aura, and the Demon Hunter just generally does more damage, right? So if you can afford to play a less tanky tank, then you would want to go with Vengeance Demon Hunter, right? I guess you just can't afford to run Demon Hunter in this dungeon because they're doing big pulls, okay? And that's what is wrong with WoW retail. It keeps saying obvious reasons for 4 classes specs, so the rest is just not viable. If one more person comes into my stream and talks about viability when we're looking at that plus 29 Necrotic Wake, then I'm gonna lose my shit, okay? We're literally talking about a plus 29 Necrotic Wake. It has nothing to do with viability, okay? Viable means that you can do something. It's possible to complete something with a certain class. That is what is viability, okay? Of course a survival hunter is not viable for a 29 Necrotic Wake.
Welcome.
Of course it's not. But does it matter? Does every single class need to be able to do a 29? Is that what you want? Like, do you want every single class to be able to do a 29? Like, Necrotic Wake, 29. You need to, like, be a little bit, like, less delusional. A 29 Necrotic Wake is not the same as your plus 15 weekly key. It's just not the same. Like, I don't see why you're comparing these two. Also, the incredibly funny part about all of this is the fact that they are playing Guardian Druid. And Guardian Druid is a tank that is not considered meta on live servers. People end up not inviting Guardian Druids to certain keys. Shadow Priest, same thing. Shadow Priest is in a plus 29 Necrotic Wake, and people still think that Shadow Priests are somehow not viable and don't invite them to their keys. So how did that happen? You know what I'm saying? This first pull, he's pulling left, front, and right, I think. Not this guy here, though. So not the Harvester, just like the Blighbags, right? So like the Soldiers, Blighbags, and his Vanguard pull. Oh no, did he not pull the left? Oh no, he did. Yeah, he did pull the left. Okay, let me try to understand his UI first of all. So he's got interrupts here. Okay, so he has got Trees, Typhoon, Ring, Vortex, and Battle Rust here. Wings, CA, Combust, okay, and PI. Okay, so there's no Ashen, but I would assume that he popped it. Okay, you can even see it. Yeah, you can see the animation. Oh, so it's Grievous, Fortified, Sanguine. Sanguine is actually kind of annoying to deal with on super high keys. That's why he's kiting it backwards here, right? So of course he used Incarn for this pull. He used double Incarn even. So he used the initial Incarn that he gets from the start. Because Incarn lasts 30 seconds. So when he pops it pre-key, then you still have 15 seconds of Incarn after the key starts. And he popped another Incarn afterwards. So he basically used double Incarn for this pull. So now they're just kiting the rest of these soldiers, pulling the Blighbags, popping the orbs. Okay, there's some Sanguine issues. Just a little though. Does he not have a Sanguine weak aura? Huh, he actually doesn't have a Sanguine weak aura. What the hell? Okay, so they're playing this Pride with basically no cooldowns other than the orb. That's crazy in a 29, yeah? In case you guys don't know, like, this looks incredibly simple right now, but a 29 Pride is like an end boss. Like, it's so difficult, yeah? A 29 Pride is incredibly hard because it has like insane amount of HP and it just like completely wrecks you because it has so much HP. So the fact that it looked so easy was mainly because of the orbs from the Goliath. I guess most of you guys know, but the orbs from the Goliath, they have like a pulsing AoE around you that not only does damage, but it also heals. So when you all stack up, you're all pulsing at each other with the healing, right? That's why they're all like stacking up like this. Okay, so they're actually pulling this middle pack. This is interesting because this is a pack that you don't usually pull this on live servers. This is something you usually skip because you have a Vanguard in here. Two Vanguards actually, and a Harvester. So this is a pack that most of the time is not actually being played. You usually play the right pack instead, which has 1 Vanguard and 2 Harvesters.
Spread the mic, I see it.
Okay, so they're pulling the boss here. I would assume that they're just gonna spear this. So that's why they pull it, right? That's why Mike also gets Bob. Because he's gonna get aggro, probably. Because the spear does a huge amount of damage, and then he's gonna get aggro. That's why they use ring here as well, I guess. So basically they're using the ring to make sure that everything is stationary. And then when you hit the spear, because the way the spear works is that you target something and you throw the spear, and then everything that the spear travels through gets damaged by it, right? So it's incredibly important because if the mobs are like running around or whatever and you don't hit one single mob with a spear, then that's a huge damage loss, right? So that's why they have the setup here with the ring. And you can see Mike is like right here.
Not hit the soldiers, if anything.
Okay, he didn't hit the soldiers, which not sure if that was just like a mistake or whatever. Doesn't really matter because the soldiers are just gonna randomly die with the boss. They do drop Sanguine though. It's not a big deal because the soldiers are kind of whatever. But yeah, it's annoying with Sanguine, I guess. Like he's struggling a little bit because he's
I need some healing here, I have nothing.
he's out of cooldowns, right? Like he's actually taking a lot of damage, even though it's only the boss and those 2 soldiers. But you can see he doesn't have Kindred as empowerment available. He doesn't have renewal. He doesn't have Incarn. He doesn't have bark skin. Also, I kind of want to see how much the frontal does. How did they survive the frontals? I want to go a bit back. Okay, so Mike survives because he's broken. Oh, they did use shield. Okay, so Fragrance is always shielding the person that has frontal. And Gingy, of course, has his own shield, so that's why I assume he survives, because mages are super tanky. I would assume that the frontal on this boss one-shots you if you don't do anything. It definitely one-shots you. So you have to use stuff to be able to survive, right? Oh no, did he have to convoke while the soldiers are... Oh, that's actually... I didn't think of that, actually. So it's actually really bad for them to not kill the soldiers with the spear, because Maestein cannot convoke properly then. His convoke is gonna hit the soldiers, right? So you see how Maestein is convoking here? Like he's convoking right here. And these soldiers are absorbing like 2/3 of his damage. So it's actually kind of a big deal that the soldiers don't die. Okay, so it looks like... Oh, he's just picking up the shield. Really? Okay. Interesting. What's he gonna do with that? Okay, so we have Devils to see here, and then there was... I didn't see it. So they definitely are incumbent with those mobs, right? Did he shadow melt? Oh yeah, he melted right there, yeah. Yeah, he did melt. I guess you just don't see it anywhere, unless I'm blind. So they melt off the aggro there. So now they're actually going back. This is probably just for timing reasons, right? Because they're at 36% right now. So they want the pride. Are they getting pride from this? No, they need the necromancer. Okay, so they use shackle. To see the mage. And now they're just cleaving down the necromancer with the bone carver. Oh, they're using the orbs for this.
Moving. Nice.
Yeah, that's a nice knock for Sangoon. This probably does a lot of damage too. Oh, he cauterized! Yeah, that shit does a lot of damage. The circle. He just cauterized from that. Okay, so they invest the pride. Oh, that makes sense that they're using the orbs for the pull. Okay. Oh, they're actually waiting for Incarn. Are they doing a big pull here? Alright, so they're pulling the Marauder pack here with the mini boss. It's actually kind of interesting to me that they decide to do the mini boss on a plus 29 fortified. But I guess it just gives a lot of percentage. Okay, so they used the spear on first boss, use orb here. I always thought the orb might be better on people who have more versatility than crit. But I guess none of those classes really goes for like a huge amount of verse anyway. I mean, Moonkins do have a decent amount of verse, but not as much as Gingy has crit, I guess. So, it makes sense. Okay, so they're playing this Necromancer pack again. So it's Kindred Spirit again for disability here. Kindred Spirit seems so good for having a squishy class, right? Like always having this Kindred empowerment for the Shadow Priest whenever he gets an ability on him. It's really nice. So Mike is gone. Mike is oh. Okay, so Mike walked up and triggered the boss while all of this was happening, right? So he walked up, triggered the boss, got gripped down by Fragrance. And then Fragrance got a second cast of the Swirly, and they used Tuft, which is the cheat death trinket from the healer. I just want to note how, like... and he grabs the orb, yeah. I just want to note how difficult this is, because it almost looks easy when you just look at how they do it, you know? Like, it looks so simple or easy, but literally anything they do wrong will cause one person to die, or it will just cause them to wipe, right? Like the Swirly, for example, just one-shots you from 100 to 0 if you don't use anything, right? If one of the casts doesn't get interrupted, you die, and so on. Like, everything needs to be perfect, because otherwise you just die. or just wipe or whatever. And on top of that, now he's taking a huge amount of damage from this stuff, even though he does play Guardian. And Guardian is really tanky, but Guardian can run out of stuff too. You know, if you don't have Incarnation up, and you don't have, like, I don't know, like Survival Instinct charges or whatever, then you also take a lot of damage. Oh, and Prides are horrible, yeah. Prides are actually a nightmare. So, and then we're gonna see a pretty big pull here, I would assume, because Gingy did grab the orb, and he does have Incarn again, so this is gonna be an Incarn pull, and they also have the orb from the Goliath. So they have a lot of resources for this pull, which means that they can do a pretty big one. Okay, so this pull just completely melted because of the orb, I guess. And Gingy is using Dragon's Breath to interrupt the Bone Carver's frontal here. Which is also really important because that frontal probably is horrendous on this level, yeah? The Bone Carver tank attack. So you see the trinkets here. The trinkets are being popped for the crit. If this spear doesn't crit, or the hammer doesn't crit, then I'm pretty sure they just wipe, right? Like, there's no way they can do this boss. I'm pretty certain if they don't crit, they just 100% wipe, right? Like, there's no way that's healable on this level. Look how much damage they start getting here, and the boss is not alive for long at all. Like, this is like a bunch of seconds. Like, it's not even half a minute that the boss is alive at this point, right? Look at the health bars now.
Just need to lift this one. You can even help healing almost. Yeah.
Next. This is Mike.
Jesus Christ. Ow!
Pot myself. Sack Mike. Give me one more tick.
Ooh.
I'm dead. I'm getting snapped.
Oh.
Cross from him forever. Clone him forever. Don't let him cast.
Give me a kick.
Oh, sorry. I'll do it.
And he keeps cloning a crossbowman here. Okay, so Elliot died. And Gingy cauterized. Was he supposed to pick up the shield after the hammer? I guess Mike had to go back and pick up another spear. Because Mike is the only one using the spears because he's got the crit, so I assume he had to go back and pick up another one because he speared that boss. So he needed to go back and pick up the one that was next to the 2 bone carvers. So that's why they're doing like a little bit of a smaller pool here at the start, because Junji was just not there initially. Like, it's pretty obvious that they're using the flash crafter. I guess most people know this. The flash crafter, like the cleaver, does friendly fire damage to the mobs. So they're using the cleaver to kill off all of the mobs here. But the thing that some people don't know is that you can carry the flash crafter with you until the end of the dungeon with mind control. Because the way this room works, you need to finish off each pack for the next one to spawn, right? Because it's like a gauntlet, it's like a event. So if you don't have a mind control, you cannot take the flash crafter with you because the next pack wouldn't even spawn before the flash crafter dies. But because you mind control him, the game assumes that it's not an enemy anymore, that it's dead, right? And therefore the next trash group spawns while it's mind control. So that's why they're playing Shadow Priest. Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to just keep the flash crafter with you. Are they skipping a pride here? Oh yeah, they are. Okay, so they're finishing off the flash crafter, skipping the pride. Now they're rooting the other flashcraft in the back here. And are using the cleavers. You see how he's positioning? It's really important actually on how they position, right? You see the crafters in the back. It's really, really important that every single cleaver goes onto the correct target. Because if you're hitting the lower HP targets, you're like wasting the cleavers, right? Because these soldiers, they have a lot less HP than the creation and the collector. Like he's positioning the mobs so the soldiers are in front and the creation and the collector in the back. So the crafter always hits the creation or the collector, right? And of course the group is on the other side. Because the soldiers jump around. So if one person stands in the wrong spot, they will jump to the other side and then they will absorb the cleaver. So, okay, cleavers and now. He hit the stitch work, perfect. Also, these mobs do so much damage to a tank, by the way. Like these stitch works and patchworks and whatever they're called. They're doing so much tank damage. With the tenderize and the mutilate. But thankfully he's a guardian druid, so. So the thing with the flashcrafter, because like whenever there's no mobs up, you want the cleavers to not go through. So you want to make sure you interrupt the cleaver cast whenever you don't need the cleavers, because otherwise you just die, right? I mean, now can soak it, but it does so much damage. I would assume that now survives it, but yeah. So this one just goes as. This was a bit risky in my opinion because these soldiers, they jump around. So if you get a cleaver and you want to get it into the soldier and then he jumps right before the cleaver hits it, then you're in trouble, right? But I guess the soldier just jumped and there's like a cooldown on the jump, right? Oh, he rooted him, okay. So now... This is no shit! This pull here is like one of the pulls where always, like the most things always went wrong in this pull, at least in the MDI. So many things always went wrong for this specific pull, even though it seems like the simplest pull because there's only 3 mobs, right? But the reason why this is a difficult pull is because you have 2 assistants and 1 cleave thrower, harvester, and you don't know who gets targeted by the cleaver, right? So at this point, you have to like really improvise on how you move, and you also can't necessarily tell who's fixating you. Like if you have a weak aura that tells you you're fixated by a cleaver, then you need to first see, okay, which of these 3 mobs is targeting me now with the cleaver, and you can also have double fixate or even triple fixate. So 2 assistants can target you with the same cleaver, like at the same time. And even the crafter, the flash crafter, can also fixate you with a cleaver, so you can have 3 cleavers at the same time. And if you have 3 cleavers, then you cannot aim them all into each other, because that's just not how it works. So at that point, someone needs to like soak one of the cleavers, or you need to use an immunity. To be able to recognize all of this in like split seconds is actually kind of hard, right? Because you need to make sure you position yourself in the correct position. You need to make sure you realize who is fixating you with the cleaver, and you need to realize how many fixates you have. Like if you have more than one, then it becomes like difficult all of a sudden, right?
Spencer.
It's really not that easy.
Hit the left one. I'm trying.
No.
Aiming it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, shit.
And then on top of that, you also have sanguine. So they need to make sure that they're not dying on top of each other, because these assistants are really hard to move.
Not synced.
They don't
I
move
will just soak him. I will just
easily.
soak him. Yes, I will soak. Melt.
Oh, he melted the fixate here, nice. I wonder what they're gonna lose this key to. Because until now, they have time, right? They played really well until here. So I wonder what's causing them to wipe. We'll see later though. But yeah, so they have the crafter go through here.
Spencer.
He used Typhoon for the bits to make sure that the cleaver goes into gore grind. That was really nice.
Without mic, okay? After a good slice. After a good. After a good to belt. Bop me, bop me, bop me. Oh, remember, yeah.
Oh, he got the gut slice on him there.
Hit a bit, by the way, not him.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you can
So he accidentally got hit by the frontal there.
Hit him here.
And they had to bop him
One bit dying.
to get rid of the bleed. Okay, one more cleaver. You see another horror has been used here. Fragrance used to stun on this soldier here to get the cleaver in, to make sure he doesn't jump. Now we get the mind control to make sure the next pack spawns.
keep him.
And now they're rooted again. This pack is really hard actually, because this rot spew casts green zone onto a random person, and that cast is a lot of damage. I'm pretty certain it one-shots all of them, unless they use something for it. So they need to make sure they have something ready whenever he casts the frontal. Okay, this one is on Celia, this frontal here. Okay, that's really close. He only used his thingy, his defensive. I forgot the name. He's out of cooldowns at this point. Next one, Celia. He got a shield from Fragrance and the Divine Protection.
We have one spell from
Yeah, can just spell, can belt. Yeah, can belt.
We got
Pulled
the
it.
right.
Fuck, dude.
Oh shit. Oh no, he walked too close.
Pulled it. Fuck.
Yeah, he kind of too close to the left. Like, at this point, everyone just had forgotten, right? Because literally, I mean, yeah, in the end now pulled it, but no one had noticed that they are walking too close to Pride, right? No one has said anything. They all just forgot. It's also, like, you don't really see the Pride in the corner, right? Because you see how, like, they put it all the way to this left corner? So it's really hard to see even. Oh, yeah, they just forgot that it's there. Oh shit, Maestin actually said it! Yeah, someone, I'm not sure if it was Maestin or Celia. Someone said care for Pride.
But, yeah, can belt. Pulled it. Fuck.
And then he pulled it right after. Fuck. Oh. Oh, it's oh no, it's so sad too, because look at the time, it's 2:50. Yeah, they have streamed at this point. This is 14 hours into the stream. They have been playing for 14 hours. That's insane. Yeah, 14 hours. And they're playing at 29 Necrotic Wake, where they have to play everything perfectly. And then he makes a mistake. You know, he literally just forgot that the Pride is over there. As he was like dying to the rot spew, like he was out of cooldowns, right? So he was like, you know, making sure he can survive somehow. He got a bit unlucky because the rot spew casted the frontal on him twice, even though it's random, right? The frontal can go on anyone, and everyone else still had cooldowns available. Celia had bubble, Gingy had block, right? They all had cooldowns available, but now got 2 frontals in a row, and he was out of cooldowns. So the frontals on him actually really sucked. He was a bit unlucky that he got all of them because he didn't have anything ready. So he kited it to the left, and he was like, fearing for his life, calling for cardboard assassins, trees, and they didn't have anything available anymore at the end. They had used all of their defenses, basically. And then at that point, he just forgets about the pride, which is totally, like, understandable. And then he just goes like, oh my god, I'm so bad, you know? Which is, it's just like, I don't know, it just happens. But you can see how difficult this is, right? Just, he forgot about one thing. Like, he literally just forgot that it's there. While so many other things were happening at the same time. And he's been playing for 14 hours. And they deplete the key because of it, right? One thing to note as well is, I think this competition is going to be so cool because of the time limit that they'll have, right? Because the way the tournament is going to work this weekend, they're going to tell them which keys they have to play. They don't know yet, right? None of the teams know which affixes in which dungeons they're going to have to play. So they cannot really practice that much. They did practice before, but they practice with random affixes because they don't know what the affixes are going to be. And the affixes do affect the keys quite heavily, especially tyrannical versus fortified, right? So those teams will only have a certain amount of time to be able to push the keys. And it's going to be such an interesting thing to see which teams can execute the strategies the fastest, right? Because if you need 5 tries to do a 29 Necrotic Wake and another team does it first try, then they're going to have a huge advantage, right? Because it takes so long to redo the keys if you failed one. Yeah, this is going to be really cool, I think. I think it's going to be a really cool tournament.